This year was my second year at Sundance. Not that you're ever fully physically prepared for the suffering you put your body through. And for me, my mind. But the profound healing I experienced in my first year, I was grateful for. And I made a 4-year commitment. My elder has taught me Sundancing isn't a one-off thing. When you start, you make a 4-year commitment. You dance 4 full years, or to the best of your ability, 4 full years, before you can come and go from Sundance. As you get older, you can come and go. When you go, you go. But you don't have to dance all 4 days. You can come out for 1 or 2 days, whatever you're able to do. I've made my 4-year commitment and I was honoring it. And it wasn't hard for me. I felt privileged in the ability to be able to honor this kind of amazing commitment. So I checked Joey, my service dog, into a puppy resort when Lulu came the year before. I was loudly and from various sources informed. Some were nice, don't get me wrong, but some were not as positive in informing me that my dog was to be nowhere near the sacred circle. And that was okay. I had a family member that traveled with us, and Lulu and this family member stayed together in the trailer. Lulu was in the end stages of life. She's an 18-year-old dog, girl. I didn't want to come home to find that she passed alone in a kennel. I couldn't. So instead, she came with me, even though she couldn't be with me. I found out the day I was healing, Lulu was incredibly sick, and the caregiver that came with us was scared for her. And then she was fine all of a sudden she was fine, and the next day she was chipper again. And the caregiver taking care of her at that time, when she realized what I'd undergone at the time that Lulu was so sick, she figured it was part of a connection to the suffering I was struggling with. But anyway, Lulu was great. I loved her. But because jokes were made about dog soup, and before you judge me or judge anyone who said that, please understand where it was coming from. It's not a place of hate. It's not a place of anger. It's not a place... No. If those feelings of hate and anger and judgment jumped into your chest when I used that phrase, I pray that you can learn and understand. I'm still learning and understanding, and yes, those phrases, that phrase in particular, hurt me deeply. Still does. But knowing why and where it came from, I can understand. And because of that, Joey wasn't coming anywhere near the Sundance grounds this year. Plus, I didn't have someone to care for him. I didn't bring a trailer. All in all, it was better to book him in an appropriate puppy resort. Let him enjoy some time. We'd been together 24/7 since, oh gosh, the last week in April. We really started to work as a team 24/7. So this was a little hard for me to leave him, but I knew it's what was for the best. And Joey could use the time too. I'm literally on my way to pick him up. I'm so excited to see him in a couple hours. Anyway, I went to Sundance knowing it's going to be physically hard. For me, it's mentally and emotionally hard as well. I don't take my medication for the 4 days. I turn to prayer and trust I will be okay for 4 days and be able to pull through. So I worry. I worry. But I do have my medication nearby if it's not working for me and I need to go back. But I made it all 4 days without it this time. Anyway, I went in thinking I can do this. Like last year was hard, but what are the chances this year is going to be anything like last year? Last year was a once-in-a-lifetime amazing experience that some people never even get to experience ever. So I went in and danced. And my body, physically, my hip, I've been having trouble with it on and off for a while, and it hurt so badly. I struggled so much to dance on day 1, and it got so much worse day 2. I not only struggled to dance, I struggled to be able to walk. But I kept trying, but I knew I needed to see the healers for the physical healing of my hip so that I could trust it and stand on it. Because I couldn't dance if I couldn't trust that I could stand. And it took a while. And at one point, coming out of the arbor after a round, I almost collapsed. I made it out of the arbor, and you have to turn clockwise and honor the arbor as you come out. And I did that, and I stopped turning, but the world didn't. And I didn't trust my leg to support me, and thankfully my Sundance brothers and sisters saw my sister right beside me, grabbed me. Immediately my brother from the front of the line came and grabbed my other arm. Men and women don't talk to each other during Sundance, let alone touch each other. But this was one of the dance leaders, and he saw I was in trouble, grabbed me by the arm and helped me to a seat. And right after that I was taken for healing, which started out as physical healing. That's what I needed. The physical pain was so emotionally draining on me, and I couldn't do what I needed to do. I could barely get up and move. And they worked on my hip. The 2 ladies, one worked on my hip, and she did physical massage and worked the swelling out. And then the other lady, she saw that there was more than just physical going on with this, and she started using pressure points in my feet, and the pain. But it was okay. It was releasing things that were stuck, and I was okay with it. But I had to breathe through it while part of my body would shake, while she would work on these points where things were trapped and stuck, and the other lady would work on massaging out the pain and feeling it drain from my hip. And when the physical work was done, the lady who worked on my foot did a scan, I guess is the only way to describe it. She knew there was something else going on. And she shared a message with me I was not ready to receive. I could hear the door slam in anger when she shared the message I needed to hear but wasn't ready to receive. And I think she saw it too, my physical reaction to that message. So we worked, I say we, I retreated into my mind and started praying and asking for help. How do I deal with this? I can't, was my first thought. I can't. my thoughts. I wasn't saying this out loud. And she said, yes, you can, and yes, you need to hear this, and yes, you need to know this, and you've been slamming that door for years. And it's time to stop slamming that door. And she said, talk. And if all you have for this person that's reaching out to you from the other side is hate and anger, let it out. Give it to them. They're the ones that put it there. Give it back to them. Stop carrying it. So we worked through that again. As best I could. Because my knee-jerk reaction, my body and my mind's immediate reaction to that message and that individual, slam it shut. It's gone. It's the past. I've worked so hard to overcome with what they filled me with, the hate and the anger and the racism. I've worked so hard to put that behind me. How could I let that flood back into my heart? So I spent the rest of that day sleeping. Physical and emotional energy again. I couldn't get out of bed. But I did get up for the sweat at the end of the night. It was one of the hardest things I had to do, was crawl out of my bed after dark and into a sweat lodge. But I did it with the support of my sisters. And I tried to not share the anger that was filling my heart and my head. But they knew something was wrong and were there to support me in whatever way I needed when I was ready, because I don't know how to ask for help. So the next morning I got up and started thinking about this. I understand dialectics. Heck, I teach people that two opposites can exist in a person at the same time. I've lived it for the past year in ways I can't even put into words. But the incredible weight and pain and sorrow of grief that is so debilitating you can't breathe. It's possible for your heart also to understand the amazing gifts you're getting at that time and be open and happy. I know, if you've never lived it or been taught, it doesn't make sense that you can hold both of those emotions at the exact same time, and it's confusing and it's exhausting, because extreme grief is exhausting and extreme joy and gratefulness is exhausting, and to have them both going on at once is a double whammy, just a double whammy as single individual occurrences, compounded by the fact they're happening at the same time, in the same space, in your head and your heart. More than doubles.
Continue on Highway 11.
More than doubles the weight of what's being carried. But I remembered this. I remembered my teachings. Prayed hard, because that's what I was there to do. Find a way. Find an answer. I didn't even have an answer. I was still thinking, you know what, maybe my answer is to say, I do not like swearing. I grew up, I never, ever, ever swore. I couldn't imagine saying these words growing up. And then as hatred and anger filled my heart, it came out through the most vulgar language. I don't like it. It's hard for me to do, but it's the only way for me to express the absolute fucking hatred and disgust I have for this. I can't even use the word person to describe them yet. And in that moment, I'm closer to using that word now than I was in that moment. So I carried that with me all day, trying to resolve what's my answer, what do I need right now, asking the spirits and the creator, what do I need? Please give me guidance on my next steps. And by the end of the day, I finally figured out, even though I tried to fight it, my head and my heart were filled with anger and hatred again. And I couldn't do this alone. So I asked for help and was given some guidance and direction. And reminded, hey, tomorrow morning's Father's Day, woohoo! Anyway, it was a hard night, but I made it. And the next day, this Sunday at the Sundance was the hardest many of us have ever seen. You can't call what hit the arbor rain. It literally tried to wash us away. The teepees, it tried to wash the teepees away. Torrential downpour. We're in our sweats, and suddenly we're thankfully coming close to the end of our sweat, and we were staying in there to be warm and together and supported, and suddenly it's leaking in the sweat. And if you've ever been in a sweat, they're wet in there. Don't get me wrong. It's not the water. It's the ice cold water of what's attacking our camp coming in and threatening to wash us away. That, okay, we need to get out of here and get back to our teepees and try to save our belongings. Salvage, get them out of the rain. Even in the teepees, most of our stuff was soaked, and what wasn't soaked was damp. But that's okay. That wasn't even the hardest part. It just is. And we prepared. They gave us as much time as we could before we went out and danced. Yes, men in their skirts, and yes, the men wear Sundance skirts, and the women wear Sundance dresses, and we went out in our dresses and skirts and danced in this cold, horrific, unrelenting rain, and did 2 rounds. And it's the strongest I'd ever danced. I don't know where the energy came from, but it did, and it helped me turn on my own internal furnace to try and keep me warm. And I danced my pain out in the rain. We ended up doing 5 rounds that day. And then we wrapped up the ceremony with the sweats and the feasts and the giveaways. And I'm telling you, even at the giveaways, so many of us were wrapped in multiple layers of blankets, dry clothing, as much clothing as we could put on and we could find that was dry, because the sun did come out by the end. So we did have sunshine and the clouds dissipated. But people were rolled up in their sleeping bags, trying to get rid of this deep, deep, deep chill that we all got. But regardless, it was another amazing Sundance. I don't know what my healing journey is going to look like over the next few months. I just know I need help. I need guidance. And I have the most amazing mentors and guides in my life. The one in particular I'm going to turn to, because I know I can be completely vulnerable with her and let her know that I don't know, and I'm scared and I'm terrified and I don't know what I'm even supposed to do. Please help guide me. Because if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and everything happens in its time. And I know the ancestors and the grandmothers will guide her to guide me where I need to be when I need to be there. So I'm releasing the thoughts and the feeling that I'm on this journey alone and I need to figure it out alone, because I'm not, and I don't. I'm releasing the judgment I carry in my heart in regards to the overwhelming hate and anger and horrid blackness that I've been resisting. But I think maybe it's time to go through. But I know I'm not going through it alone. So I've got a question. How in the world does a once-in-a-lifetime amazing healing journey happen repeatedly? I'm so fortunate. Many people don't get these things happening in their lives even once. They never get the understanding and the opportunity to work through it. Their heart and their brain and their mind and everything just keeps slamming that door shut and saying no. And they carry it and they don't even know. They think they're locking it out, but they're locking it in. Everything happens for a reason, and everything happens in its time. And as scared as I am of this part of my journey, I guess it's time. And I have no idea what it's going to look like or where it's going to take me. And I don't need to know that. I don't need to know what the destination is right now. I just need to know I am on a journey. And I'm traveling and I'm healing. And I'm not alone, and I'm not making this up. I can't open my eyes when I'm going through these healing lodges. I don't know why. I just know I can't. And when I finally sat up and took a breath and accepted the message, I accepted that I needed to hear it. That's as much as I could accept in the moment. I was able to open my eyes and thank my helpers. And the one lady looked at me and said, "Your eyes are so amazingly beautiful and gray right now." I thought I imagined that my eyes change colors at times. I thought I was nuts. In fact, I've had people say that when one time someone asked me what color my eyes are, and I said, it depends on the day. It depends how I'm feeling. It depends what's happening to me. They go anywhere from this amazing blue, some days they're green, and some days there's just something, and I've never been able to see it. But someone else saw it for me. the other day and told me it's a gray, and it's from traveling. Not physical traveling in this world, I love that, but it's from traveling and going through this growth and change and understanding and opening my heart and my mind to the Creator and the gifts the Creator and the grandfathers and the grandmothers bring and offer. So, again, another life-changing 4 days. I can't get my head around everything that's happened to me in the last 2 years. Oh, this video's gotten too long.
Continue on Highway 11.